In 10th edition of Warhammer 40,000, you get cover. Your mum gets cover. Your mum's dog is in cover. Your mum's dog's chew toy has cover, and you better believe that the fluff on the chew toy of your dog that your mum has is also getting the benefit of cover. Now, the benefit of cover rule seems really simple. If a ranged attack is against a model that's in cover, it gets +1 to its save. The simple version is it caps out 3+, so if you're a, say, Sister of Battle, and you have a 3+ save and you get hit by an attack, you don't get any extra benefit. You don't go to a 2+ save, unlike in 9th edition, it stays at 3+. If you were hit by an AP-1 weapon, then the cover kicks in, so you stay at that 3+. The exception to this is if you have a 2+ save already, like you're a Terminator, then you don't reset the save to 3+. A AP-1 will still keep you on a 2+ save. It's just that against AP-0, you can't get better than a 3+ save. So a Tau model with a 4+ save, that goes into cover, it has a 3+ save. The issue I have with cover is really the issue with visibility. I already think line of sight is weird in 10th edition, which I've talked about before when 10th edition was being released, but so much of the terrain interacts with the visibility rules. Look at the ruins, the most common terrain feature based on the model kit sold, and it is the main terrain feature you see at tournaments. You don't just get cover from ruins by being in the ruins. You also get cover if the model you allocate the enemy attack to is not visible, because they're in the street behind the ruins. So even though their mate is right here in the open and is being shot at by everyone in the attacking unit, if you allocate the attack to the guy that they can't even see, that's a model that gets the benefit of cover. The only person in this unit not getting the benefit of cover is the one dude standing out in the open, and there's no reason to take them off first. It really does seem like everyone gets cover all of the time unless they're hit by an ignore cover weapon. If one model can't see all of the enemy model, then the whole of the target unit gets cover against all of the shots. Each model the attack is against has to be visible to all the models in the attacking unit. So this purple unit is out in the open. They're having a picnic. They have not a care in the world. And this black unit moves up, and all but one of the black token unit can see a model completely. And that last guy is cleaning his glasses behind a big impassable rock that is battlefield debris. But because not all of the attacking unit can completely see all of one model in the enemy unit, that purple unit, sipping tea, now has the benefit of cover. When they're out in the fluffing field. You don't need abilities like you get cover if you're more than 12 inches away from the enemy that the Raven Guard style Space Marine detachment has. It seems everyone's getting cover anyway. Indirect fire makes more sense. You don't need to faff about trying to think, oh, can we see it or not, because you're firing indirectly. You know they're going to get the benefit of cover, and that's how indirect fire works. If again, we take that first example, where there's one person that the indirect fire weapon can see, like an exorcist, it can see one person but not the rest of them, then the same rules as that would apply. If the attack was allocated against that one in the open, they wouldn't get the benefit of cover, but against all the other three, then they would. But the reason you would have the exorcist fire at this unit rather than one further off on the other side of the board is you get -1 to hit on top of giving the enemy the benefit of cover. So shooting at this unit, you wouldn't get the -1 to hit because you can at least see one model in that unit. But thinking of tanks, you would think tanks block line of sight. And they do. They're a physical model. They block line of sight. You can't see through your own models and units. But a model in the same squad can see through all the other models in their squad. But let's look at the line of sight again. We aren't drawing an uninterrupted line from one model to the enemy model. We use true line of sight from any part of the model. So if you slam your head onto the table and peek under the tank's armored skirt, there's line of sight to the enemy. You can still shoot under a tank. Your ankles can see my ankles. This isn't as bad as in previous editions where an Eldar or Tau unit could shoot under their own tank but the enemy couldn't shoot back. But it stops tanks, unless sideways and not skimmers, from blocking line of sight, which is the thing that tanks have done since they were invented in the 1910s. As I say, I don't know how cover works. It is technically less complex than previous editions where there were thousands of variations of alternate cover rules that you could apply to different terrain items. But if you have any advice for understanding cover for 10th edition, I would love to read it in the comments, please. There is another thing I figured out for 10th edition cover. Units don't give each other cover when you're taking fire. So Gretchen can stand in front of an Orc Boar unit, and the Orc Boys don't get cover even though they're not fully visible to the attacker. It's only if you're not fully visible because of terrain features. So in past editions, there was a special ability or command point thing where Gretchen could take the fire for Orcs instead of the Orc Boys. Unless there's going to be something like that in the new Orc detachments that come with their codex, Gretchen don't provide the benefit of cover, but having one Orc way off in the corner that no one can see would give that Orc a benefit of cover. So I think I've understood cover well enough now. So we have a Screamer Killer. I can see all of its base. And if I remove this tip me alert for Ko-Fi that reminds you that you can tip me a couple of dollars at the link in the description below, then I am out in the open. All of my base can see all of its base. So it doesn't have cover. Right? Right? Wrong! It has cover because the tip of its claw is not visible and is behind the wall. So not all of the model is visible. Oh, make it simple, Games Workshop says. Oh, it'll be fine. Just simplify everything. It's not going to just become an issue. At this point, I don't know if, rules as written, and we are thinking Krankenfoof levels here, could you have an arm that has come off the model, you throw that under the table into your terrain box, and no enemy model can see all of your model, so you are always getting the benefit of cover. I don't know how cover works at this point, but I feel that everyone, everywhere is getting the benefit of cover. So what do? Well, we can make up our own cover rules with our opponent. Tanks are bricks, you can't shoot under them or through them or over the top of them. Being on top of a platform, that could give you plunging fire, but not the benefit of cover. I think it'd be really cool if, like, being on an exposed hill gave you a benefit. So with plunging fire, your attacks gain an extra point of armor penetration. That could be cool, but the trade-off is that you are very exposed. Any enemies can shoot you. So being on top of a hill or being on top of an armored container, it could work like that. It doesn't in the rules, but I think that'd be cool. We could have it so that models in the attacking unit give cover on a model-by-model basis. It takes a little longer, but it makes more sense. So if I have 5 models that can fully see all of the models in your unit, then you shouldn't get cover, even if I have one dude who can't shoot at all. That doesn't make sense to me. Why are you getting cover in the open? So we could do it like that. That model's not shooting. Sure, the enemy would get cover against it, but there's no bullets firing, so it doesn't matter. The other 5 in the squad, yeah, they can see the enemy in the open. So you don't get the benefit of cover. If you're not firing a model, why would you give your enemy cover because the man isn't shooting and cannot see to shoot? Or we could just choose to play an army with a 3+ save, who isn't getting the benefit of cover against AP0 weapons. There you go, play Battle Sisters, because then you don't need to think too much about the cover rule, at least for your own models. You could instead choose to play an absolute horde of guardsmen who are always getting the benefit of cover and their 5+ save is really a 4+ save. Or you could set up your army to just be absolutely focused on removing cover from everything. Have the Conflagration missiles on the Exorcist. Choose Infernus Marines, and when the Hachette magazine is available, get some of them. Play the Genestealer cult. Then, whenever you come from below, your attack's having no cover. If you have a Ridge Runner for the Genestealer cult, use the Augur Array, because that means that whatever it shoots at, anyone else shooting at that unit doesn't get the benefit of cover. So I'm going to go down that route, and then I don't need to think about the enemy getting cover. This is why we play Battle Sisters and Genestealer Cult. So if you want to hear me talk about something I do know about and have advice for, the precision rule is one that I understand. If you want to hear me talk about something that I have no idea how it should work, but it seems really wrong and weird, then I can talk about points. My darlings and viewers, enjoy cover in 40k.